Hi, welcome. My name is Angelina and today we're going to be fixing some really bad K-pop thumbnails. Yes, in one of my videos, I admittedly went a little bit hard on JYP thumbnails for being ugly, though I'm not ashamed because objectively they're pretty bad. But alas, it seems that quite a few of you suggested that I make them myself. And I thought to myself, since K-pop thumbnails are so easy to make, maybe this could be a really fun idea. Because I mean, here's the thing. To make a K-pop MV thumbnail, all you have to do is take a screenshot of the video in question and then maybe add a logo to it. Like, that's literally it. It's like the epitome of easy. But for now, I need to preface this by saying that I'm not calling the idols ugly. I'm not saying that the music videos are inherently ugly. I'm solely looking at the context of the thumbnail and whether or not there is something that I could do to improve it. This is just how I would personally fix these thumbnails. Maybe you would do it a different way. So let's get started. Actually, I'm going to stop you right there to remind you to subscribe to this channel before I inevitably, indefinitely close my subscriptions, and don't forget to also like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have. Here's another little preface though. I'm not a professional. I know a lot of people like my thumbnails. Sometimes I'm really proud of my thumbnails as well. I'm like, damn, you did that on free software? Okay. But that's my point. Like, I am self-taught and I do use a free software. I'll leave a link down below if you'd like to use it too. I just try learning as much as I can through, free tutorials as well. I just think for the most part, you shouldn't have to pay for education, fuck the system, eat the rich, you know what I mean? And yet, the epitome of capitalism in the background, but we don't need to talk about that right now. So maybe you might think that my version of the thumbnail isn't actually any better, but in my heart, I believe it is. So because of that, because I'm not a professional, I wanted to play a little game with you guys. So I'm going to show you guys the thumbnail side by side, and then you guys get to vote for which one you prefer. And then eventually we'll see, do I win, or are some of these just simply a lost cause? Okay, so the first thumbnail we are going to fix is Blackpink's Lovesick Girls. So right off the bat, I do think it tells a nice story. We have these neon lights, and I'm definitely a sucker for neon lights. And as a fan, seeing this pop up in my subscription feed, I was like, this is exciting. But they're mid-movement, right? They're doing the dance and they're mid-movement. And because they're mid-movement, I mean, obviously their facial expressions aren't the most ideal. Lisa's mouth is basically open, but it's just not the picture I would go for personally, just because it looks a little awkward when someone is mid-movement. And then we have my pet peeve number one, which a lot of companies are super guilty of, and that is not removing the border that is within the music video. A lot of times the companies just take a screenshot with the borders, don't bother resizing the picture, and then slap their logo on top of that, and I think that looks lazy. For example, Mnet and Cube are terrible with the logo. At least, like, they put the logo literally over any existing text, and it makes no sense. Or even Mnet again with this Love Killa performance by Monsta X. You have the Love Killa text, but then you just have the logo over the text. Doesn't make the most sense to me. Personally, I would just make it in a way where Love Killa isn't clashing with the logo, but that's just me. Really grinds me gears. So option number one is this picture with Lauren and Lisa. I like this. It's not the most ideal, but I think it definitely tells a story. I would ideally like it to be more colorful. Like, I definitely love the colors and the neon signs within the original thumbnail, but you know what? I'm working with what I have. I would have told the girls to like pose in front of that and take a picture, and then that would be like the thumbnail, but whatever. So this thumbnail is admittedly a little bit dark, but you see her entire face, and faces are super important for our thumbnails, or so I've read. I've read a lot that if you have a face in your thumbnail, people are more likely to click on it. And I think that's just because you have kind of something to connect to, something human to connect to. So this is my second option. Admittedly, this is not, like, if I were to submit thumbnail ideas, I would have scrapped this one, but it was just an idea. I thought it was nice. The pink really stands out. It's very mellow, but it is blurry, and Jennie's mouth is kind of open. Again, she's mid-movement, so it kind of throws things off. If this is a little bit more up close, a little bit clearer, it could be an option. This thumbnail is actually my favorite. I love the tones within it. It's very dark, it's very blue, and it actually reminds me of Big Bang's Forever With You thumbnail. Like, I was making this thumbnail and I thought to myself, wait a minute. this looks like almost identical. And I think overall it definitely represents Lovesick Girls super, super well. You know, Lisa looks really sad. It's very dark. It's very blue tinted. But maybe I'm biased because the thumbnail matches one of my favorite K-pop songs of all time. I don't know. Look at me out here copying all the YG's shit. But yeah, let me know. Do you like the original thumbnail or do you like option number 1 or option number 2? I personally really love option number 2, but I understand that having Lisa in the thumbnail, only Lisa, would cause fans to start a lot of theories about favoritism and all of that stuff. So I kind of get why they went with the 4, but I, at the very least, would have taken the border off. And it's very easy to do, so I'll show you how I did that. And this would have been the final result. Or again, I would have asked some during production to pose in front of the sign because I love the colors. But you know, trying to find a picture where they're not moving was very difficult. So definitely let me know which one you prefer. Okay, so now let's take a look at the thumbnail for GFriend Mago. What's interesting is that the border is on the sides of the picture rather than above and below the picture, but I still don't like the look of that. Here's the thing, I understand why you would want the border. You can see more of a widescreen version of the music video, and sometimes it does technically let you see more within the thumbnail, but again, when you're scrolling through YouTube, you're scrolling through search results, to me it just doesn't look the best. So our first option is admittedly a little bit boring. I tend to think that if there's a plain background and just a face, that it doesn't do most music videos justice. So I'm going to scrap this one, which brings us to option number 2, which I originally thought would tell an interesting story, you know? The original picture seems really retro, we have the sparkly clothing and a drink, but the red logo kind of clashes with the red from the drink, and it doesn't make the most sense. I think if Source Music logo was a little bit more like, let's say, Mnet's logo or Cube's logo, in the sense that it kind of sits at the corner of the video rather than floating in the corner, I think it would fit a little better. But the fact that it's floating, I feel like you need to take that into consideration. So I'm not really a fan of this one either, so we're scrapping example number 1 and example number 2. Which brings us to example number 3, which I quite like actually. I think it portrays quite accurately the vibe of Mago, which is retro, of course. You know, the logo doesn't really clash as much, and it's overall a nice picture. So I would definitely consider this one. However, I'm actually not terribly mad at the original thumbnail. I just think it could use a little bit of work, like removing the borders first of all. So what I'm going to do is, of course, remove those borders, resize the picture so that it fits a little bit better, all while, of course, keeping the logo where it is. And then I'm even going to work some magic by removing the text because we want to avoid being redundant. And here it is. So between the original and option number 1 and option number 2, which is your favorite? Okay, so now we have J-Idol's Dum Dum Dee. Again, we have the atrocity of borders and then just slapping your logo on top of the border. Here's why it doesn't look good, because you see the logo. Look in the corner of this picture over here. You see that it just doesn't look good. It just looks like not my cup of tea. I don't think there's anything wrong with this thumbnail at the base of it all. Like, it features a face, like it's pretty nice, admittedly. But this is the direction that I personally would have went. I mean, if I saw this on my subscription feed, I would be so intrigued. I'd be like, who is that umbrella cockatoo? Look at that beautiful wingspan. But if that's not your cup of tea, I also made 3 other ones. So this one I think is nice. You know, it features 3 members, it features faces, there's no atrocious border, but it looks a little bit like a behind the scenes type of deal. And then we move on to this thumbnail, which I think is pretty nice, but the thing is I had to cut out a member. Don't tell anyone, but if Cube did that, I know fans would be so angry, especially since there's just 1 member. I think if you cut out like 2 or 3 members, you can kind of get away with that, but just 1 member will not slide. Trust me, I've made Blackpink thumbnails with just 3 members before, and no. But ultimately, I really did like the idea, like the base idea for the thumbnail. So I just took that same exact picture and I took the borders off, re-added the logo. I mirrored it so that it's kind of a little bit more balanced, because I just feel like if you have the face on the same side as the logo, it kind of would look a little bit off balance, if that makes sense. So I just mirrored the picture so that the logo kind of goes up and then her face goes up and it looks a little bit more balanced. So, you know the drill. Leave down in the comments below. Do you like the original or do you like my version? Okay, so now let's roast Twice's More and More. So for this one, like, the colors are really nice. I think it really represents the music video, but again, they are mid-movement. It's not super clear. And from far, it actually just looks like a blob of blue and green and some orange. And we're gonna try other options. Also, I thought I just took a bad screenshot, but it does have borders below the JYP logo, which is interesting because usually companies kind of just slap it on top of the border. So, you know, A+ for effort for sure, but I definitely still maintain that borders don't match with logos. So my option number 1 does kind of seem like a behind the scenes vibe. It's definitely not my favorite, but it's an option. Then we have option number 2, which is just Momo's face, but you see the beautiful blue water in the background, and I think this is probably one of the nicer ones. But then this is my last option, so if we could have had all 9 members within this picture, it would be good, but because we're excluding 4 members, I feel like it's a little bit more acceptable. I don't know. Do you guys agree with that notion? Like, if you exclude 1 member, then it feels like it's purposeful. But if you exclude like 2, 3, 4 members, then you kind of get the gist that maybe they all just didn't fit in the frame. I don't know. So again, the original, option number 1, or option number 2. On that note, I also think that Twice's I Can't Stop Me could use a little bit of work as well. I definitely love the imagery. I was probably one of the few people who appreciated, you know, the music video for sure. I personally think it's really beautiful, but the dance move does look a little bit awkward. And again, we have like these awkward borders, but at least JYP puts their logo above the border. So I appreciate that, but I still think borders have no business being in music video thumbnails, but that's just me. Now, in this music video, there are definitely a lot of face shots that can be used and that can make really pretty thumbnails. So, you know, here's an example of Momo again. You could literally just use anyone's face. But I really did want to play with the scenery in this music video, especially this music video, because again, I really liked it and I want to take advantage of that. So I know I've gone on and on about wanting to have faces in my thumbnails and the importance of that, but I don't think it's always required. I think it does look nice and it does make me want to click a little more, but if you do have really beautiful scenery, you can take advantage of that, and I think this is a situation where it can be done quite nicely. For example, we also have Treasure and their thumbnail for You know, I think this definitely looks pretty cool. You see all of the members lined up kind of perfectly, and the background definitely looks interesting as well, all on its own. So I think this tells a really nice story. So I'm taking inspiration from this type of thumbnail to make this Twice thumbnail. So I was really looking for a zoomed out shot that also told a story. So I went with what I call this cotton candy canyon. I think it looks really magical and it's one of my favorite scenes within the music video. And though it doesn't necessarily scream I Can't Stop Me, again, the original thumbnail definitely screams I Can't Stop Me with the flower. But admittedly, if you look for shots where the flower is perfectly displayed in the background, they're doing choreography. So it does end up looking a little awkward as the original thumbnail. But nevertheless, I kind of do like this and I would definitely click on this, though I acknowledge it doesn't really fit the entire theme of the music video because we don't really see this throughout the entirety. We just kind of see it at the end. But let me know, do you like option number 1, option number 2, or option number 3? Okay, so now we're gonna move on to Blackpink's Ice Cream music video. I remember waking up the morning it was released and just looking at the thumbnail and thinking, what the why are they covering their faces? Like, I was really intrigued by the colors, admittedly, but the fact that they were covering their faces really didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand the reference. I didn't understand what was covering their face, because you also have to take into consideration that these thumbnails are going to be really small on your screen, right? It's very rare that you're going to see them really big, so you will lose a lot of detail. You need to have the picture be big enough, clear enough for people to kind of see it when it's super small. Maybe it's in your up next section. So yeah, I was really not a fan of this thumbnail and I'm so pleased with the results that I came up with. So option number 1 is Jisoo. We have her with this beautiful pink background. I think this picture is so stunning. It would have made a really great thumbnail, but it does look a little bit empty and it's not my favorite, so let's keep showing you my options. So this is actually one of my favorite options. I know they're kind of mid-singing, but I feel like it would work because they all have like the same mouth movement. It kind of looks like they're expressing like, ah, do you know what I mean? It doesn't look too awkward. And I know I usually don't like those colors together, but I think it works for this context. However, when I think of ice cream, I don't generally think of the colors black and pink together. I think this scene was really cute, but again, doesn't really represent ice cream. I think more pastel colors. So in that sense, the original thumbnail did have a really good thing going for it. It has these pastel colors. It's really cute. Definitely more in line with the concept of ice cream. So I'm going to take inspiration from the original thumbnail, but we're going to take the ice cream cats away from their faces, at least so we can see the cats and their faces all in one picture. And again, I personally think that this makes a super cute thumbnail, not too far off from the original, but we still get to see their faces and kind of understand that they're holding ice cream cones with cats in it, whereas in the original, it was a little bit confusing to me, especially for how small it was. And this is my last option. I'm not the biggest fan of it because I feel like the black and yellow theme just doesn't really represent what we think of when we think of ice cream. But yeah, we're just kind of throwing that in there. So again, do you like the original one? Which, by the way, I forgot to mention, has a white border. YG, what were you thinking? So out of 1, 2, 3, which do you prefer? Cats in their faces, epitome of Blackpink, or cats beside faces? Now we're going to talk about Itzy's Not Shy thumbnail. So we see the members, their backs are turned to the camera, which again, I would prefer to see faces. But here's another critique that I have. I think the Not Shy is a little bit redundant, right? It's really big, it's in yellow letters, but the thing is you already see that within the title. So if you have something in your title and you're kind of repeating it in your thumbnail, it's a little bit redundant. For a music video, I don't think it really matters, but if you're making thumbnails for YouTube, I've definitely read up on the fact that being redundant is not the best. You should add something new to your thumbnails, something that isn't written in the title already. So here's my option number 1. We have Yeji in the car, and Ryujin's face is admittedly covered, but I really love the vibe of this. I think it definitely represents Not Shy, and she just looks so cool and unbothered. And then we have option number 2, but for some reason this also gives me like behind the scenes vibes. So I don't know, I'm a little bit torn because the original really isn't super terrible, right? Like, it's not the worst thumbnail we've ever seen, but I think it could be better. So let me know, do you like it the way it is, or do you like my version number 1? I feel like I'm scrapping version number 2. Okay, this is a thumbnail that has been bothering me since the beginning of time, and it is BTS's On thumbnail. Just looking at it from the beginning, okay, there's a border, okay? It's terrible, but at least they don't have like a big hit logo over the border. We can half let it slide, but this picture, for whatever reason, even within the music video, I tried to go back in the music video and find this picture to see if maybe they just distorted the thumbnail, but it looks distorted in the music video as well. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but it looks distorted. So really the only thing I would do is just change it to literally any other picture. So I picked this picture of Jin. But honestly, this picture is probably a little bit worse. It looks like it lacks even more effort than the original. So I chose this other picture, but still, for whatever reason, I'm finding that some shots within the music video just seem blurry or distorted. Does anyone else see it? Please let me know. But I digress. So I thought I would show you an example of maybe why companies decide to put a border sometimes, because you can actually see a little bit more. So for example, with this picture, we have the borders and it looks okay. But then if I wanted to take the borders away, you can see how it looks a little bit constricted, like it doesn't really fit. The tip of his fingers are kind of cut off. But anyways, here is our last option. I feel like it kind of tells the story. Overall, I'm not really happy with the options of this. And I mean, of course, we could just take away the border from the original and call it a day as well. So you can let me know again, do you like the original, the one without the border, option number 2, or option number 3? So here we have TXT's thumbnail for Blue Hour, which I honestly don't understand why they purposely choose these kind of random pictures that not only don't necessarily represent the music video, but aren't the most intriguing either. And I thought, again, awkward mid-movement picture. So I was wondering, maybe they just upload the music video and then they choose whatever YouTube auto-generates as their thumbnail. So I uploaded the music video onto my second channel, and I wanted to see if this picture would show up, because that would make a lot more sense. But alas, as you can see, it's nowhere to be seen, but these 3 little thumbnails give this same energy that the thumbnail that Big Hit picked out gives. So you know what? Maybe that's the look they're going for, but we're still going to fix it. So again, luckily these thumbnails are super easy to fix because you can literally just pick any other picture. So here's option number 1. I really like the fact that his hair is blue and it goes with the Blue Hour theme. I don't know, I'm kind of a sucker for a consistent color story. And then we have option number 2, which I also think tells an interesting story. Like, I would be intrigued to click on this and wonder, you know, like, where are they going? And it also fits the blue theme as well. So let me know. I mean, I'm not going to judge you if you pick the original, but literally. So again, let me know if you prefer the original, no judgment, or option number 1, or option number 2. Okay, so now we have the thumbnail that started this all. This is Stray Kids' backdoor thumbnail, and honestly, I don't think God's Menu had a good thumbnail either, so we're gonna fix that as well. But honestly, as soon as I started to try to work on my own thumbnail, I realized that there's not a lot to work with. Like, I kind of understand why they go for these mid-movement shots for these Stray Kids videos in particular, but it was hard to find, you know, a screenshot where they're not mid-movement and where it's not blurry. Not that the originals are not mid-movement and blurry anyways, that yes, that is shade to JYP, but I digress. So here is my thumbnail for Backdoor. Admittedly, it's not the best, but I'm sure if I were part of the company, I would have access to higher grade pictures or just higher quality video to take pictures from. So this is a little bit blurry, but I think it tells the story, and it also features like a killing point in the choreography, you know, the knock knock move. But admittedly, this is the best option that I could find, and I'm not super content with it. I mean, if you just take random screenshots from throughout the music video, it's really rare that you're gonna see something usable. For example, in Ateez music videos or even Blackpink music videos, for a lot of music videos, actually, you will see a lot of face shots. But for whatever reason, this does not exist in God's Menu or Backdoor. Honestly, at least the original has some nice colors to it, but of course, blurry mid-movement, not really ideal in my opinion. While my thumbnail is simple, it borders on boring, and if you look at it as a small thumbnail, I think the details are lost and it's not quite clear that he's doing a choreography move. So then this is the original one for God's Menu. Again, like, their hands are super blurry, mid-movement. You know, it's not the worst thumbnail in the world, and I don't think I did that much of a better job, but let me show you. This is terrible. This is actually terrible. I don't like this one. I would scrap this one. If it was better quality, I think it could work, but just no. But I did end up making a second one. I don't fucking know. I'm kind of sorry towards JYP for shitting on their thumbnails because there really wasn't a lot to work with. But at the same time, like, what the fuck? So this one gives like really creepy vibes, which I don't think really fits with God's Menu, but I think it could be a cool thumbnail for something else. I don't know. This is the best I could do, okay? But you can still let me know in the comments down below for Backdoor and God's Menu. Do you prefer the original thumbnails or do you prefer mine? And like, it's totally fine if you don't pick mine, but just know that I'll probably remember your username. Okay, so we are going to end this video off with Ateez. Now, I love Ateez, but this thumbnail just isn't it, and here's why. I think, you know, when it's really big, when the picture is really big, it looks stunning. You can see everything they want you to see. It's basically just their figures, and then, like, the background is really what takes the show. But in my opinion, I just feel like you're not going to really see that in a small thumbnail. Like, a lot of this detail gets completely lost, and it just looks like their figures with a little bit of a colorful background, and that's about it. So right off the bat, I'm scrapping option number 1. I thought it was a good idea, but really just like the white background is a little bit too plain. And option 2 is definitely a little bit better, but it's still not my favorite. You know though, am I right? Okay, so this one is kind of one of my favorites. Admittedly, you know, is a little bit covered, but like, don't tell anyone. But I think there's like enough going on in the background. There's enough colors within the background. You have one person who is kind of centered, and I think this looks really good actually. Also, I feel like Thanxx is just a really colorful music video, so I think you need something colorful within the thumbnail as well. Also, I'm aware that the company logo is messed up, but I'm just going to be bothered to fix it, so please don't mention it. But then, this one's kind of on the same wavelength as the first one, but it's a little bit more up close. And again, you do lose the details because it's blurry as hell. But I think if it was a little bit clearer, a little bit more in HD, this could actually be a really good thumbnail. If there's more depth to the picture, because right now for me, it's just really blurry. But it's just an idea. And then this one is actually another one of my favorites because I feel like it tells the story the most, if that makes sense. We have Yeosang in the middle and the rest of the members kind of walking towards something. I don't know. It's a little bit unbalanced because we definitely have the logo at the bottom, so then the whole entire top is empty. But I think for a music video could definitely work. The only issue is that one of the members is hidden. And then I just threw someone there for fun, so there he is. So for the last time in this video, let me know, do you prefer the original thumbnail, Sans thumbnail, the other red thumbnail that I've decided I don't quite like anymore, or Yeosang in the center thumbnail? So yeah, that is basically it for this video. Please, please, please let me know if you like this type of video, if I should do a part 2, if you think I should never do this again. Again, like, I'm not a professional, I'm self-taught, but for music videos, I feel like it's pretty straightforward. And, you know, maybe you think mine are terrible. Let me know as well. I will not cry. I'm still mourning the disbandment of 21. I have bigger things to worry about. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to this point, my watch time thanks you as well. Don't forget to like and comment on this video or leave it a dislike. You could also join my channel memberships by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. You could get a cute Kevin emoji next to your name. You could get sneak peeks, and you could potentially see videos earlier than everyone else. Depending on which level you are on, these are the lovely individuals who help support my channel on a monthly basis. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. As for me, I'm gonna get going, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Even for Blackpink, like, their teaser video thumbnail looks so intriguing. You know, you have Rosie Taeyong. She's in this bathtub with black and pink paint all over her. She's crying. Like, that could have been a really good thumbnail as well, but they wasted it on the teaser.